You know, when you think about AI in movies, right? Your mind probably goes straight to killer robots, dystopian futures. But what if a film just did the complete opposite? Well, that's what we're talking about today. It's a documentary called AI La, and it basically trades all that tech anxiety for a really thoughtful human journey. So, on one side, you've got your classic AI thriller, right? Super fast paced, loud, probably ends with the world blowing up. But AILA, it's just not that. It completely flips the script. Instead of all that crazy action, you get this really meditative, almost calm pace. It swaps out the cityscapes for these beautiful natural landscapes, and it brings the whole AI conversation back down to earth, focusing on the human side of things. It's a totally fresh take. So how does a film even get to this kind of different perspective? Well, it all kicks off with the main character's journey, and that's our first section. From Code to Caucasus, the premise of the engineer's escape. Okay, so the guy who's taking us on this journey, he's not some random observer. He's actually a veteran Silicon Valley engineer. He's been in the AI world for over a decade. And after all that time, he kind of hits a wall. He finds himself at this huge crossroads, really struggling with just how fast everything is changing and what it all, means. And that crisis is really the spark for this incredible transformative journey. We're not just talking about a vacation here. This is a full-on escape from that world of code and algorithms. He sets off on this quest that's both physical and, inside his own head, looking for answers way, way outside the Silicon Valley bubble. And this whole journey creates the central conflict of the film. But it's not the usual man versus machine thing we always see. Nope, it's more of a quiet comparison between artificial intelligence, the stuff made of code and labs, and what you might call natural intelligence, the kind you find out in nature or in real human connections, or just when you're being quiet and thinking. And that really gets to the heart of the film's mission. It's all about this one big question. Where do these super smart machines actually fit into the messy, complicated, beautiful thing that is human life? Now, to dig into these huge questions, the film has a really unique style. And honestly, how it tells the story is just as important as what it's saying, which brings us to our next section. Pace, style, and scenery, and the meditative feel of the film. So right off the bat, you need to know this is not an action movie. The pace is super relaxed, it's very introspective, and that's on purpose. It's designed to give you, the viewer, the space to think right along with him. It's all about that quiet reflection, not some fake, pumped-up tension. And the visuals are a huge part of its message. The camera work is constantly putting these huge, sweeping natural landscapes right up against the very structured, almost sterile feeling of the digital world. This contrast, which you see over and over, really hammers home that central theme of nature versus tech. This whole meditative vibe creates the perfect headspace for the film to really get into its big ideas. So let's talk about the big human questions that are really at the core of this whole thing. The film really gets into an anxiety I think a lot of us feel. What's the actual human cost of all this nonstop innovation? It makes you question that constant push for progress and that search for balance. In a world where, let's be honest, automation is changing everything about our jobs and even who we are. It kind of puts forward this idea that maybe the real answers aren't in the data, but in our own human experiences. And listen, this is not just a Silicon Valley conversation. The documentary was filmed in a bunch of different countries, China, the UK, the US, which really drives home the point that these questions about AI, they're universal. It's a conversation we're all having all over the world. Look, this film doesn't give you any easy answers. It's not supposed to. Instead, it leaves us all with this really big challenge, which is pretty much the central question of the whole story. In a world where machines can actually think, how do we hold on to and even prioritize the stuff that makes us human? All right, so with all that said, let's get down to it. Should you watch this? Who is this film really for? Okay, so this film is definitely for you if you're less about the ones and zeros of AI and more about its impact on culture and, us. If you like a thoughtful human story that takes its time, you'll love it. But you might want to skip it if you're looking for a fast paced tech drama or a really technical deep dive into the code. It's just not that kind of movie. So, at the end of the day, AI Law isn't trying to scare you with dystopian futures or bore you with technical jargon. It offers something that's actually pretty rare, a gentle but really meaningful look at the idea of intelligence itself. Not just the artificial kind we're building, but the human kind we're still trying to figure out. And it leaves you with this one last powerful thought to chew on. Maybe the real challenge isn't about what AI is going to become. Maybe it's about what we are going to choose to be in a world that we now have to share with it. And that, well, that's something to think about.